welcome all y'all, 9 people of you, and everybody else who accesses the recordings later. So I had asked Alan to kind of tell us a little bit about his views, Alan Ohashi, the president of Coho US, to tell us his views about the state of co-housing currently. So Alan, do you want to do that?
Sure. And I'm sorry I missed the previous session because I'm sure that there were lots of insights and commentary about what's good going on in co-housing. And I'm joined with by my colleagues Liz and Annie. I think Annie's going to wrap up the presentation this evening. There's been for sure a very challenging last 6 or 8 months with the pandemic happening, and there's no getting around that. And I think everyone is very well aware that co-housing was one of the I guess interesting ways that the pandemic was sort of kept under control, and at least within our communities, and we were able to respond much quicker than the rest of the world because we're basically kind of set up to deal with common issues and common problems. You know, this one happened to be a pandemic, but there could have been a snowstorm or there could have been a tornado. Then I know that one of the communities in Tennessee was stricken, and floods and whatnot. So, you know, co-housing, you know, we kind of look at it as sort of, okay, that's just the way we operate. And so I think that the rest of the world has sort of seen, and I think we've been able to get that word out about how co-housing is a hedge against loneliness, and B, a collaborative way to deal with common issues, good and bad. So I think co-housing didn't miss a step when it came to when all this started in the middle of March. So I think that's been good. And I think our organization has been resilient. We responded, I think, really quickly. We took some chances with the Zoom room formats, and the very first web chat that we had in March or April, whenever that was. We attracted hundreds of people from co-housing communities to talk about the COVID virus and how their communities were planning and already were adjusting to the pandemic and the weird situation of COVID distancing and COVID isolation. And beyond that, we've been able to keep our web chats going. We've had a number of conferences that have been attended by hundreds and hundreds of people, and we've been able to figure out how to record those and memorialize them for others to see. That's something we never was able to do with live conferences. And so whatever our new normal is, it's going to be different. And I think the report that Karin is going to give is going to bear out the success that the Co-Housing Association has experienced over the last year, as well as the member communities who are associated with the Co-Housing Association. So all in all, I think the state of co-housing is strong, and I will turn the program over to Karin. I've heard the presentation. I'm not going to stick. So this is a problem with only 9 people. When you can't like sneak out the back door. You pretty much have to like go. I know one thing. I guess I could stop my video, but I think Annie will be here representing our bunch as well as Liz. So.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. So yeah, so the Co-Housing Association of the US strives to educate and advocate for co-housing, as well as work to connect our community of communities. And as Alan mentioned, how important that is this year. So we are led by a really amazing board of directors and supported by staff. And I would just like to kind of introduce them to you. So Alan Ohashi is our current president. He lives at Silver Sage Village. Ann Lehman, who is here, lives at PDX Commons. Ty Albright is our treasurer, and he splits his time between Texas and Oklahoma and is creating community in that neck of the woods. Mary lives in Pioneer Valley Co-Housing and is one of our 2 board secretaries. That role is shared by Megan, who lives in a cooperative home in the Berkeley area, East Bay, I think. Jim lives in Silver Sage Village, right across the street from me, and same community that Alan lives in. Liz is creating a community, the Pinnacle Project. And then we have 2 new board members, Kat, who lives in Milagro Co-Housing, and Lou, who lives in PDX Commons. Staff is myself, Karen, and I live in Wild Sage Co-Housing. Karen is between communities right now, and Rosie, our bookkeeper, well, she gets her fill of community by being involved in what we are currently calling Co-Housing Central here in Colorado, because there's a bunch of us in a very small area. We also are supported by the Advisory Council. So the Advisory Council serves these folks. Karen, if you can flip to the next slide. They serve in a capacity that forwards the co-housing movement in the US. And so we really appreciate the time and effort to make co-housing a term that everyone is familiar with. And I would imagine these names are familiar to you, as they are kind of big players in the co-housing world. We're also very, very grateful to our association supporters. So these are typically professionals who continue to do the work to create more co-housing. We're so grateful for the expertise that they share and their willingness to continue to support communities, helping design them or facilitate through processes or whatever their kind of specialty is. Helping out those communities as they form and begin building. And then we're also super thankful that they offer financial support to the association. Evergreen Neighbors. So another group of people we're super thankful for their financial support. As a 501c3, we really rely on these donations to do the work that we do. So becoming an Evergreen Neighbor allows individuals to give a little bit every month. Personally, I think about like giving up those lattes and giving an organization or an association like $10 a month or something like that. And those little bits do help, and we do notice, and we certainly are appreciative. Another option is to do as Marty Maskell of Fair Oaks Eco Housing did. So she gave a one-time gift of $10,000 after moving into the community that she founded. And what she said to me as she was, popping the check in the mail is she said, "I am profoundly grateful to Coho US. Without the support over the years, we would not have a community because I would have given up a long time ago." So a huge thank you to Marty for that generous, generous gift. And we're so proud of her perseverance and the tenacity of all the Fair Oaks folks, actually. You stuck through it and you moved in, which is super exciting. So we do also depend on the annual community donations, and we just ask, if this is not a line item in your community annual budget, to consider doing a collection of checks from the various households. That's how some of the communities do it, and it's fantastic. So we recommend $25 per household per year. And so that typically we look for that in the mail right about now. So what do we do with these funds? Well, we create some amazing events, and maybe Karen, do you want to do just a super quick overview of our 2020 Simple series?
Sure. Yeah, so we launched the year of 2020 with a great idea. We were going to do a mixture of a live events in small regional areas around the country and a series of, I think originally we thought we were going to do 4 online events because online seemed like a good idea way back in the end of 2019 when Karen and I were planning this all out. And so we launched that with our very first online event was an affordable conference for affordable co-housing, affordable conference because it was online. In fact, people weren't having to pay for hotel rooms and things of that nature. Great success. And then we started to gear up for the first of our online regionally or our live in-person regional events, and COVID arrived. So those events all got converted. And so we ended up doing a total of, I think, 7 online events in 2020, maybe 8.
So we
Yeah,
did
we did what is co-housing?
What is co-housing, and then the affordable conference on affordable co-housing.
Yep. And then Rocky Corner and Casa Verde both hosted
Yep.
events that they had intended to have in their common house and instead had in our Zoom rooms.
Yep.
And then we did
Huge success with Heart of Community. Yep.
That was by far the most attended, but not that the others weren't attended, they all were. And we did Community for All with a big focus on diversity of all kinds of diversity. And then we tried out our very first open space event. So Cohousing Open 2020, Cohousing Open. And we will be repeating that for 2021, a very culturally aligned sort of way of getting together and having a conference and letting folks talk about the things that are important to them. And then we wrapped up the year just not quite a month ago with the Nuts and Bolts of Community and another highly successful online conference. So starting the year with a plan for various types of events, and we did various types of events, but all of them online, which gets us ready for 2021.
All of the 2020 Simple Series events were recorded, and people can still register for access to those recordings. So you can still dig back into that information. So the coronavirus, co-housing and the coronavirus. So as Karen said, we were so lucky to already have plans in motion when COVID struck. So people already had practice using platforms like Zoom, and we were able to convert those live events into online events with great success. But truly our biggest success that I'm so proud of, caused by our biggest challenge, the pandemic. So within 48 hours of recognizing this need across the US, we mobilized and we created a community check-in all about the coronavirus. So the first couple of months we hosted web chats, a total of 12, now 13 because we just did one tonight, sometimes inviting somebody to present information and sometimes simply holding a space for communities to connect during these tough times and share ideas about how their community is handling certain things. The feedback that we've really gotten is that so many people feel really blessed and really lucky to have community. And while it doesn't, solve all problems, and there's still certainly challenges, that really we are stronger together. So I would imagine, because the pandemic is still happening, in case y'all didn't know, we will continue doing these co-housing and the coronavirus community check-ins kind of as we're hearing the need. So tonight we did one just before we checked in with you all, and that recording will be on our website. So that if you're interested, but it was basically a community connect, and it was really just taking a look at, so what's happening now with coronavirus in your community, and where are you at, and what are the concerns, and what are the challenges, and what are you doing differently heading into the winter? And there was some valuable information and conversation brought up then. So let's see, some other big things. Let's talk about good things that happened in 2020. So Village Hearth Co-Housing in Durham, North Carolina moved in. Fair Oaks Eco Housing in Fair Oaks, California moved in, and Rocky Corner Co-Housing in Bethany, Connecticut is about to move in. They might have a few people in houses already, but they're rolling in there, which is pretty exciting. Another really fun thing that happened in 2020 is we had launched a community launch program. And so what that community launch program looks like is it is for communities that are forming or building, basically kind of once they've hired a professional or have created a budget. That's when it's like kind of the perfect time to get involved with a community launch program. And we offer resources and support and point you to various professionals if needed, or policies to kind of take a look at. So a bunch of resources, connections. We help you out with some basic marketing ideas, get you advertising on the website, make sure your listing is up to date. So there's a bunch of different things like that. So for this year of 2020, we had these, 8 communities participating in that program. And coming next year of 2021, they will kind of roll into 2021, and Cohousing Houston will be joining that community launch program as well. And information on that program is on our website. So we found that that program was so well received and had great success that we decided to kind of expand on that idea and create a community partnership program. So that program is really geared towards communities that are established, that already exist. So some of the things that we can help out with them is as communities are established, you know, the work isn't done once you move in. And so again, helping out with resources for professionals if they're trying to figure out how to do a better reserve study or figure out how to do a community retreat, things like that. So ongoing aging community challenges. So this community partnership program has a couple of other really fantastic benefits. One of them is access to the online events for 2021, which we're going to tell you about in just a minute here. But what we realized was that with our events being offered online, it made them so much more accessible to so many more people because they didn't have to travel perhaps, or the registration fee was more affordable. They could sit in their jammies on their couch and attend the online conference. So lots of reasons, but people liked it. And one of the things that was interesting is that in events past, live events past, we had more than half of the attendees were from forming or building communities, which of course makes sense, right? They're the ones that are really thirsting for the connection and the knowledge. But what happened with this year of 2020 and the online events is that that percentage shifted, and we saw more than 50% of the registrants coming from established communities or sustaining long-time established communities, which is really interesting. And one of the things that they really enjoyed was the access to the online events. So they would purchase community coupon codes, for example, and connect within their own community that way and learn together. And so, for example, my community of Wild Sage purchased a community coupon code for the Community for All event, and then formed a study group. So there's a group of, I think it's about a dozen people now that watch one of the sessions on their own time, usually on their own time, sometimes together, and then get together and talk about it and talk about how whatever that topic was relates back to our community, and is there anything we can learn from it, and any improvements that we can make. So this community partnership program, one of the perks is getting free online registrations for the 2021 events. So another thing is advertising. So communities that are reselling a house within the community, sometimes it's tough to get the seller, particularly if they have a realtor paying out of pocket, though it's a small amount. Still, they don't necessarily see the value in posting on the co-housing website. Though those of us that live in the co-housing communities definitely see the value of drawing potential buyers that are actually looking for community, not just a nice house somewhere, but actually community. And so we thought, wow, if that's a perk that we can offer, that potentially those sellers or the sellers' realtors would use it if it's just filling out a form online, but nothing else, which then benefits those communities because they're, stacking the deck. They might more likely get somebody who really wants to be there. So really cool program for 2021. All the information is on our website. There's a button on our homepage, so you'll be able to see it. So let's see, Karen, do you want to talk about some ways that people can get involved with the association?
Yeah, we love to have folks be involved with the association, and there's kind of any level of involvement that you might be interested in. We have had some amazing volunteers who are just consistently present for our events, and that help us plan our in-person national conferences. Those are some of the sort of big tasks, and of course our board members are very involved. And that goes all the way down to much smaller participation. I need blog posts. So if somebody wants to post to the blog or help out with getting some interesting content on the Facebook page or something like that, like we have some of those kind of just tasks. And then the middle ground really is participation in our committees. And so we have committees that work on fundraising for the association. We have committees that work on planning and organizing the events. And we have had a communications committee. It turned out to be mostly me, so we could reform that. Would love to have that. But really any level of support that you're interested in, and probably the best thing I would say, Karen, if you agree, that if you're interested in getting involved, the thing to do is just email either Karen or I, so Karen or Karen, cohous@gmail.com, and set up a call, and we'd just be delighted to talk to you about how would you like to get involved, and what skills and talents do you have, and kind of what time do you have, and how does that match up? But we haven't yet found the person who had something to offer and we couldn't figure out how to make use of it for community. So what did I miss, Karen?
True. Yeah, I think, so we have the 3 current committees that we have. To pique your interest is the events committee, and kind of nestled underneath the events committee, there are 2 subcommittees. One is the 2021 online conference series committee, and the other is looking further forward into the future is the 2022 Madison and More conference planning committee. So there's also the fundraising committee and the recruitment committee, and all of these committees meet on Zoom. COVID or not, that's how we meet, every 3 to 4 weeks, just depending on the committee and what is happening. And there is consideration of forming a marketing committee going forward into 2021. And right now, the current board and advisory council and staff and other committee members are taking a look at the needs of such a committee and goals and potential objectives. And once those are identified, then there might be a whole new committee. But as Karen said, I think we've had some amazing people. Neil Planchon, who's on the, I think he's here. I think he's Rains, Cone, both of them just huge helpers in the co-housing world, period. But most recently, what they've really been putting a lot of energy into is event planning, which is just fantastic. And we've made some really great programs. Daisy Birch and Marty Maskell also helped with planning events this year. Crystal Farmer was fantastic to consult with when we were planning the Community for All online conference. We even talked past board member Phil Dowds into returning to the Coho US fold and serving on the fundraising committee, and that's been fantastic. So yeah. Karen, you want to talk about the website a little bit?
Yeah, so the website was the really big news a year ago at the annual report, where we were talking about our brand new rolled out website that we rolled out in May of 2019. Hard to believe it's been over a year now, but it has. We are continuing to work on improving it and adding content to it, but it is up at cohousing.org. We're grateful for Richard Gettler of Rocky Corner Cohousing for the lead picture that we have up now. We think it's pretty fun. What can be better than those adorable children? But we always, are welcoming additional content, particularly to the blog. There's a ton of information there. There is so much information there that navigation can be kind of tricky. So I'll give you the hint, which is the search button, which is up here in the corner of the header, that little magnifying glass. If you type in what you're looking for there, that's probably actually the fastest way to get there. That's how Karen navigates the website, wherever she needs.
It is.
That's her way, Neil, too. And so that's going to be the fastest way. Of course, you can browse, and there are various options. The directory lives there, and we've had an intern this year that's been getting our directory listings updated, which is fabulous. We've been excited about that. So yeah, the website's there, always interested in feedback, and what can be expanded about it. And there certainly are content pages yet to be built. That's sort of an ongoing project, but we are pleased with our website.
It is certainly dynamic and always improving, which is great. Also dynamic and always improving is our future programs. So we are super excited. This year we're planning that everything in 2021 is going to be online. So we have created a conference series, all online conference. So what is co-housing is going to be that basic introductory, what is co-housing type of thing. Stepping into co-housing, we'll be focusing a little bit more on forming or building communities, but as always, there absolutely is going to be information there valuable to all, even those that have been involved in co-housing somehow for 30, 40 years even. Connecting in co-housing, that's our 2021 version of Heart of Community. So communications, relationships, how to get along, basically. We are going to do the open space philosophy again. So it was a little scary for some people, I have to say, and it was definitely unknown to many people, but the feedback that we received was that people really enjoyed that. So it was getting together, hearing an inspirational keynote, and then figuring out what we wanted to learn that day and who could teach each other. And it was really exciting. It was really innovative. We'll also be doing co-housing over time, which is a little bit more focused towards folks that live in established or sustaining communities. But again, there will be valuable information shared for somebody who is just brand new into the co-housing world. And then affordability. We recognize that affordability and diversity are two huge topics that keep coming back to us as things that people want. And while those concepts will be interwoven in all of the online conferences, we are going to dedicate 2021's kind of special conference, if you will, back on affordability. We will, of course, be hosting the National Co-Housing Open House Day. When I say hosting, well, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like for communities, but we will be sharing out some advice on how to create maybe a virtual virtual tour, however you say that, of a community, and some things to include or maybe not include, or talk about how to host something on Zoom. We'll have some ideas for that. And then not in 2021, but absolutely during 2021, we will be already planning 2022. So the hope and plan is that we will be in Madison, Wisconsin, where we have a fantastic planning crew, and the venue is amazing. And there's a bunch of communities that we get to go visit. And because we realized how successful the online conferences were this year, and we anticipate for next year, and a part of that really is the accessibility, we will be offering some online events in 2022 as well. So let's see. So the other stuff that's coming up is Giving Tuesday tomorrow. Annie, are you here? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
You're on mute, Annie.
Okay, got it. Yes, so all of this that you heard about doesn't just happen. Not surprisingly, it takes money. There's staff that need to be paid. There's all kinds of software and computerware and websites that need to be maintained. And these things don't happen on a dime. They take staff time to really focus and think hard about what it is you all might want. But more than anything, we have to think a little bit about, why do we all live in co-housing? We live in co-housing because it's a different way to live, and we've chosen that. And we've chosen to live with our friends and community. And we've chosen to try to have a more integrated life with the community around us. And this is a model that's been around for, quite some time now, but is spreading. Every year there are new and more co-housing openings. It kind of amazes me. If you've been there right from the start and you see the amount of work that goes into opening just one, it's astounding to me that anything ever actually comes off the ground. But they do, and they do because people care a lot about this style of living. People care a lot about wanting to spread the word that co-housing is a different way to live. And having just come through this very challenging year of the pandemic and elections and people maybe not getting along as well as they could have, one of the things we've really learned is that we represent a kind of democracy that doesn't really exist in too many other places, where everyone has a right to be heard and everyone gets heard that wants to be. And so this wouldn't happen. I mean, if we were all just our own separate communities and there was no national office or no national staff to be there, it would be very difficult for new communities in particular to form. They wouldn't have the knowledge, they wouldn't have the expertise, they wouldn't have access to all the rest of us that are already in existence, and they wouldn't be able to really get off the ground very easily. So we are asking you, tomorrow is Giving Tuesday, but really anytime between now and the end of the year, we're asking you to think about, with your hearts, what does it mean to be a part of this big co-housing community? What does it mean to participate in a different way of living? What does it mean to try to spread this kind of democracy that we are modeling to the rest of the world? It means a lot, and we need to have a national organization that is helping us do that, or it wouldn't exist. And that doesn't happen without funds. So we are asking you tomorrow and through the rest of the year to think about giving to Coho, just like you would think about to any of your nonprofits that you care about. You've obviously already chosen, many of you, to live this way. And so why wouldn't you make the small extra effort to give and give regularly? We have a special program. We'll be more than happy to take your one-time donation, but we do have a special program called the Evergreen program, which lets you give monthly. So you can make a smaller donation every single month. And that way it's not that noticeable, but it really adds up for us. And it's also really nice to know that we have that steady amount of income coming in every week. It's a real boon for us to be able to plan and to know that we can do all these things that we do for you, and mostly so that we can just be there for your questions, be there for your answers, be there for conferences, be there to relate to you and be able to refer to you people who can help, particularly newer and forming communities, but also, as we learned this year, communities that have been around a long time have a lot to learn. And again, this only happens with your generosity. So given that you've already invested big time in the homes that you've built and the communities that you live in, we're asking you also now to think about the national organization and how you can give and sustain us regularly. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. So I think that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Night.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. See you in 2021.
Bye.